All right, guys, thank you for tuning in for another watch review. This review is on my Glycine Airman Number 1, which is also called the Purist. So what makes it the Purist? Well, to start with, it's the 36mm case with a true 24-hour dial. So what that means is that the hour hand is going to go around once in a full 24-hour cycle. That's what you're going to be looking for if you're looking for a Purist model. The GMT models that have the third hand, the hour hand will go around twice in one day. So I've seen a lot of reviews where a lot of people are not getting into the specifics of the 24-hour dial or the GMT version. The GMT version came after this model. So that's another reason why this is called the Purist, because the original Airman did not have the third GMT hand. So at 12 o'clock lunchtime, the hour hand is going to be pointing down at the 6 o'clock position. Midnight, the hour hand is going to be pointing up at the 12 o'clock position. So that's what the 24-hour dial means. Some people don't want that. There is a little bit of a learning curve that it takes to get used to looking at that dial. I enjoy it. I like the nostalgia of the watch and the way that it's going back to its original origins. And I want to put that out there because if there's others like me that say, hey, I want the most exact recreation of the Airman that's out there, then you're going to be looking for one that's going to be called the Purist, that isn't going to have the GMT hand and will be a true 24-hour dial. So GMT is basically meaning you're tracking. Back in the day, you were tracking Greenwich Mean Time. Most of us today are just going to track another time zone. I'm tracking the West Coast California time. So why was it called Greenwich Mean Time? It was based on a 0-degree line that ran through the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, London. But after 1972, GMT was kind of abolished and they went to UTC, which is Universal Time Coordinate. It's also called Zulu time. It doesn't really matter because GMT, UTC, Zulu, they're all the same time. If you Google them, the internet's going to tell you they're all exactly the same time and show you what they are currently. That's nothing to get fixated on. Typically, if you're going to use this watch or use this outer bezel, it's for you to track another time zone. And now they just adopt that GMT to basically tell you you're tracking another time zone. You don't need that third hand on this watch to track that time zone. If you do buy the GMT version, nothing wrong with it. It'll allow you to track 3 time zones, but you're not getting the most original iteration of the Airman. Again, nothing wrong with that, but I'm just letting people know because there's some confusion when I first started looking into this watch that the outer bezel, what was the GMT, what wasn't the GMT, was starting to be a little confusing. So you can see I told you I'm tracking California time. I've just dialed this back 3 hours to the corresponding time. So it'll let me know what time it is in California when I briefly look at this. If you look at this dial, it looks confusing. You're looking at that hour hand pointing at 1700 hours. You know, it's rolling in on 5 o'clock. If you look at this little tail right here, it's pointing at the corresponding 5. So it gives you a little bit of a cheat right there. You can say, oh, I can't see what that is. Is it pointing at 1600, 1700 hours? Look at that little tail. It's shooting right at 5. We're coming right in at 5 o'clock. So what time are we in California? We're 2 o'clock. We can see because we're at 1400 hours on the outer bezel. It's basically what you're going to use this watch for if you want to use it or you just like the look of it. I like to plug it in into California time just to track it for personal reasons. Anyway. So that's what you're looking for if you're looking for the Purist, or why is it called the Purist? There's a little screw here with a little locking plate that holds this bezel down. You do not have to turn it much before it starts to rotate. It's bidirectional and it moves very easy. Make sure you cinch it down really nice and hard. Don't break it, but also you don't want to lose that screw. So when you first get this watch, keep an eye on that. I noticed one day I was walking around and I felt that it was loose. So I just kind of double check it from every now and then to make sure that I have it good and tight. Again, the case is 36mm by 44. It's 11.6 millimeters thick. So you can see that. Not a very thick watch. It's got this domed sapphire crystal. Now, again, I've seen people reviewing this watch stating that this is acrylic. It's not in this version. If you can see that on the back, it clearly states that it's sapphire. See if we can get it to zoom in on that. If not, there it is, sapphire. There was an earlier re-release that did have an acrylic crystal. The current version doesn't. So you might be looking at some old reviews where they say that it's an acrylic crystal. No, it's sapphire. And I'm fine with that. I would honestly rather it be sapphire than acrylic. You can kind of see that. So that was something that confused me. And there was even one person that did a review and said, this says sapphire, but it's acrylic. Nope. All of the specifications on Glycine's website say that it's sapphire. When I got it, it's definitely sapphire. It's fine with me. I'm happy with it. So this is not a screw down crown. It pulls out very easy. There's really no water resistance. I mean, it's 30 meters. I'm not getting it wet. I don't trust that. So again, very low water resistance. This movement is listed as the GL293. You see it on the back here. That's just Glycine's model number. So you don't know if you're getting with the GL293 the old ETA 2893-2 movement or the Sellita SW330-1 movement. I'm pretty certain if you're getting anything in the past year or two, you're going to get the Sellita movement, and that's what this one has. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a 26 joule movement versus a 25 joule movement if you got the old ETA movement. I really don't have a problem with either one. The Sellita has a 42-hour power reserve. It beats at 28,800 beats per hour. It's a hacking movement. Currently, I've had this watch going on over 2 weeks, and it's running at plus 4.5 seconds per day with the app that I track it with. That's excellent. And it's staying pretty consistent with that. I don't see a lot of deviation. It's steady with its accuracy. So if you want the old ETA movement, I think you're going to have to go back a few years. But currently the GL293 movement that's listed by Glycine is really the Sellita SW330-1. So again, I saw a lot of confusion where there were people reviewing the watch saying that it had the ETA movement with sapphire glass, but the way that they're being sold today, it's most certainly a Sellita movement that's going to come in the watch. This isn't the band that came on it. It comes with a vegan leather, kind of like a black crocodile like this is here. I felt that it was too soft and felt that it was starting to stretch really early after wearing it just for about 10 days. So I ordered, which I had planned to swap out anyway, a Horween true leather, kind of a vintage looking strap to put on the watch. So the band that comes on it, it'll get you by for a few days until you find something you like, but it's nothing that you're probably going to use long term. Probably one of the downfalls of the watch is it is difficult to read. It's a small dial. It takes you a minute to glance at it to see what time it is. I don't know if it's just my eyes, but it's really hard to see that date in the date window. It's really small. But it is a 36mm. It's to be expected, and I just live with that. I really don't stress about the date as much as as long as I'm able to tell the time with it. So you see my wrists are right at 6 1/4. It's a perfectly sized watch. I don't think if you're 6 1/2, almost to 7, if you're getting close to 7-inch wrist, you may want to go up in size with the watch, but I don't think that this being a 36 wears small, but there's a lot of numbers on that dial, so it can be at times difficult to read, but that's about my only complaint with it. Very accurate, feels very well made. The bezel is like a coin edge. The finish is excellent. The back is very simple. It's just a great watch to look at. I like Pilot watches. I like Pilot watches that were actually really used. True Pilot watches. Not a lot of these homages or so-called Pilot watches that are out there. I'm not going to get into the whole history of this watch, but it's amazing. It has almost a lot more history than a lot of these so-called Pilot watches out there that say they've been to the moon. This watch has been in space. It's been all over. I enjoy wearing it. I think you'll enjoy it as well. I did a lot of research before I bought the watch to learn about the difference with the Purist and the GMT and all the different models that are out there. I bought this off of Ashford. Ashford had a sale going. Finally out the door, the watch wound up being slightly under $700. If you do some research and do some looking around, you can find this watch $700 or under. That is, if you can find them at a local shop. Once they're gone, and then the price shoots through the roof, and you'll see these watches going for $1,100, $1,200 once Glycine stops production. Then they seem to release these in small batches. But anyway, I did an unboxing of the watch that came from Ashford. You know, I paid for it. I have no affiliation with Ashford. Feel free to watch that in my other review. And if you have any questions, just feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thanks.